Hey everybody, BTO Pro here. Just wanted to do one of these videos about hacks because there's been some kind of more national media about hacks now lately. Also, Penn State put out an article. It's pretty cool. So there's been quite a bit of buzz lately around it. Been getting a lot of questions. So wanted to do one of these style videos. I haven't done it in a while. Is take an element someone else has made and then let's wire it up to hacks, or step through what that process looks like. Because it's kind of an abstract concept, just this entire headless authoring experience, but also the way in which we extend it, right? People are used to like, this system I bought has functionality X, and then this doesn't really work that way. You're kind of able to extend it pretty rapidly. So we're going to look today at an element that two other people in our team are working on called an image compare slider. Now this is being worked on. It's a joint effort between some developers here and at the World Campus. And so what it is ultimately is this. It's that you have like an image and you can swipe it and you can kind of compare and contrast the change between it. And so let's make this available to all faculty, right? Hax is kind of this empowerment platform, if you will. So this is going to show kind of the developer steps as to how I would go about doing that. So I'm going to pull up a terminal window here. Okay, I'm going to look at this GitHub repository location, but I'll just copy this part for what I need. So in the name of the repo, in this case, because it's an element, I'm going to do cd lr web components, and I'm going to go into Hax Body directly, which is, I own the project at some level, so like I can kind of do this. All right, so let's do this, which will go and get that element, and it's going to save it in the right place. Okay, it's going to compare dependencies, and there we go. So now it should have that element. Now if I look at that in my IDE here, so I've got Hax Body, where that saved it is under, what's this, image compare slider. There we go. So now I can see the image compare slider. I can see the single tag. This is a work in progress. I want to make sure that I say that up front. But we can look inside the work that they're doing. You can see they have some styles, things like that. I might want to give some additional feedback about manipulating something called styles. But anyway, so we can see the way that slider works. This is all the variations in slider. It's kind of cool. Then we can see, here we go, in attach. Now they used tooling, whatever you want to call it, that we use to build these elements. So it kind of scaffolds a lot of this, and you'll see it actually is stubbed out. Like, hey, this is a sample gizmo. That means literally nothing. But so let's update this, and it'll teach hacks about this element. So this is effectively how we wire anything up to hacks. So you could copy and paste this, and as long as the attached life cycle of whatever the element is emits this little message, then Hax is going to know how to interface with it. It's the beauty and flexibility of the platform. So first off, to show that this sample gizmo thing is actually going to be what goes out the door, let's go down in here, and we're going to force Hax, our little demo space, to load this up. So the way we do that is Hax kind of gets all of its control settings, if you will, at runtime. It loads this big JSON array, and it walks through, and then there's this auto loader capability where it says, oh, load these elements, and they'll kind of give me the directions of what I'm supposed to do. So this project is named image compare slider. So let's paste that there. And so what this is going to tell Hax to do is when it's setting itself up, it's going to go and it's going to put one of these elements on the page and basically trick Hax into loading it. And then by loading it, it will end up firing that attached life cycle. I need to actually go open it again. It'll fire that attached life cycle hook, which will then teach Hax how to modify it. If I could find the word image in here, there we go. I didn't. There we go. Now it's open. So if you imagine I place the tag, Hax is going to place the tag on the page because it's in that little area here, which basically it's just going to run through and keep placing tags on the page. and then deleting them so it doesn't bloat up the page. But so to see this, first step, hit reload, and Hax kind of sets itself up. All right, now if I hit edit and I do make, you'll see there's this sample gizmo here, which if I hit sample gizmo, will give us something that sort of looks like that tag, right? Now clearly it's not actually wired up fully, although part of it is. So even with the boilerplate, we have this, there's the image slider. Obviously it's not the image slider. And it says, hey, that's the sample gizmo and inline change. Okay, so like it's wired, but it's not accurate. So let's make it accurate now. So the way that we do that is we go into image comparison and we look at these properties here. So you see it has a title, and that's why it talked to title in that case. And it seems like there's a bottom SRC. This is where good documentation comes into play. There's a top SRC and a bottom SRC. And so let's do bottom and top, copy those. I'm not going to worry about the height and width stuff. Percent position for the slider as to where that rests. Let's just leave that at 50. We could add these things later, but just for sake of argument. So we're going to call this a image comparison. And so this is what will be on the interface for people. Eventually the description will show up somewhere. We haven't visualized the description. Simple element to allow one image to swipe over top of the other. Okay, now we could get, let's change the color of this to just kind of whatever we want. It's arbitrary at the moment, but this is an image and it's a type of media. So this stuff is just metadata, influences the display a little bit. You can get the name of these icons. The icon is that, right? So it's a video player icon. But the way that we can figure out what the icons are named is we search webcomponents.org for iron icons. And iron icons is just this big set of all these this iconography out there. Eventually we'll kind of just provide our own icon, custom icons for these as we go forward. But we'll still always support the iron icons. So let's look for the word image and look for something maybe that would be sort of like compare. I don't really expect there to be something for compare. This burst mode's not terrible. Oh, geez, there is image compare right there. That's nuts. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put in the icon image compare. All right, now author will say this was LRN Web Components because that's the organization that we put this under. So handles, and this gets, had a lot of questions about this section, but this is effectively saying what type of media does this handle? Well, this handles images, and the way it handles images has to do with those bottom and top SRCs. So bottom SRC, bottom SRC would go on this side, and we'll say like source. And this makes more sense once you actually start to see it in practice. But not very many things have a source too, but we'll put it in here anyway. What this is effectively saying is if you search anything, so in Hax, there's this find area. And so if we find something like an image from NASA, for example, and search for moon landing. Okay, there we go. So what this board that just got generated when I made a selection derives from is that elements have said, I can handle images. So that's what this type image part is. Because this endpoint from NASA said, hey, I supply images. And so it says, I supply images, who can handle them? And then Hax kind of queries the elements it knows about, and then says, oh, well, here you go. Here's the little details from that little blob of information here, right, with the icon and the colors and the name, right, so that we have the meme tag, for example. Then it takes those fields and routes things together. So source got populated here, not because there's some hard-coded, thing to do so. It got hard. It got added there because it said, in this case, okay, well, if you bring in source, I want you to wire it to, is kind of the way this logic goes. So another thing I could wire to from that is I could say title, because that's a common one, and I could say wires to title. And so anything that comes across from any endpoint that matches this, it'll then just handle it automatically and wire the two together. So that you can get a much better UX pattern for your users that are building out the material. All right, so now we need, on our configuration form, we need to add support for those other two fields. So I'm going to copy this little block. Oh, sorry, I skipped over the quick part. The quick part of the settings is when you have like an inline editing operation. So where did my little fake it? There we go. This. So that T button shows up there because that's a quick setting, and it says title, and then it presents a text field, and it has the icon of editor title. And so that's how you can put in place little quick settings for inline. When you do configure, right, so we're saying here, we're like reading this property, so the property of this current tag is, and then present it as the word title, and then describe it as, and then its method of input is, kind of a thing. So that's how you can read these. So I could say that bottom image, and then that would be, in this case, bottom SRC, and then down here would be top SRC, and I could say top, and I don't really, I could say like image 1, no, I guess the bottom top image part probably makes sense, top image. So that would be the thing that's swiping over top of the other one. Yeah, okay. And so this would be the base image to swipe over. We're going to say that that's a text field. You can also do input validation though, if we look at the spec. So let's do that, because I often gloss over that part, and I probably shouldn't. So to look at what the spec is, all of these implement something called Hax Body Behaviors. So let's look at Hax Body Behaviors here. So let's go to LR Web Components, Hax Body Behaviors, and then there's a lot of reading. That's why I usually skip this step. But if you read through here, all the things I just said, it's in writing as to what these different pieces do. But you can actually do validation within here, and I should probably have some more examples with validation. But you can see there's validation, and you could do like URL-based validation. There we go. So you can say validation type URL, and it'll basically ensure that what gets put in there is a valid URL. So let's do validation type URL, because I just said it's possible, and we'll keep it as a text field, and we'll put this over top of there, and then the top image that swipes over. Okay. So this is enough to build out the form for Hax and create a logical UX pattern for people. So let's see what the heck that we just did. So we'll hit refresh. Okay. Edit. Make. There's the image comparison, right? And it's in orange. It's got that icon. It has the name. Hit image comparison. And now I have a title, and I have fields for bottom and top image, which should validate to an image. Okay, so that isn't super useful by itself. Let's do it with something we find. So let's find an image from NASA. Now, let's go back to that moon landing. Okay, so there's the Apollo program. Now, because I said that this can handle images, image comparison comes up as a potential display option. When the user hits image comparison, it dumps in the right thing there. Now, for this one, it's a little, we would need something else to play with it. There we go. So I just pasted an image I had already referenced from before, because most things don't have two sources. But so if I paste in two image sources, and these obviously don't make a ton of sense for this example because they're different aspect ratios, but this shows you the process of wiring this data and wiring the tag itself to Hax. And so now I have a new Hax capable tag, in this case, a comparison tool, which if you are doing any instructional design or you're building out course content, you would go, well, does it support image sliding? Because that's a legitimate question to ask. Does Hax support image sliding? And yesterday, I would have said, no, but it could. And then in the course of this 15 minutes, I can now say, yes, it does. And so that's kind of the transformative power of what this really provides. It's really a way of authoring the web, and the way at which we go about authoring the web as developers to empower faculty, staff, anyone that wants to make a site. It has also been abstracted in such a way that we can more rapidly create and deploy those things that allow them to teach more effectively. And so this is kind of the process we've been going through for every one of these that appears under make. We find something, we have a unique use case, we say, oh, we need to render math, for example, or a calendar, or a Wikipedia article, whatever that case is. We create it in a way that tag effectively solves that use case for the sum of the internet. And then we wire in that little tiny bit, and it makes Hax aware of how to talk to that thing. And now we've both visually solved the use case, but we've also created an authoring, UX pattern for it, which, as Hax increases in usability, you just get this more usable way of editing things, and we don't have to go through and ever, touch these basically. Whether it's multiple choice question or whatever, that it just works forever because it was written for the native web. Woo! All right, so that's the correct answer. Randomize it. The question, why is this the bestest ever? And you can see them cycle all over the place. It could be our feedback. Boo. So that when we get it wrong, oh, there's the but we get it wrong. Boo. Right? We can build all kind of these different interactions very quickly and have a consistent method that once someone learns how to edit one thing once, they're going to be able to know how to edit basically anything. So thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions or interested in getting more involved, we're always looking for people to partner with to build out this, the open community around Hax and Hax the web.